Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hello civil engineers and welcome to CIVIL53. In the previous lecture, we have talked about AutoCAD interface, how to start a new project, and how to use draw list. In this lecture, we will talk about modify list, so let's get started. First, we will start with the command move. Go to Home tab, Modify List. This is the icon for Move command. To select, left click. Now let's say that you want to move this object. To select, left click. Now, to confirm selection, enter or space. Specify your base point. Base point, it is the point from where you want to move the object. So let's say that this is our base point. Left click. Now specify the point where you want to place the object. So let's say that you want to place it over here. Left click. The shortcut for the command move is M. Type M. Enter or space. Now let's say that you want to move multiple objects at once. So select your first object, left click. Select your second object, left click. Select your third object, left click, and so on. To confirm selection, enter or space, or else you can do right click. Now specify your base point. So let's say that this is our base point, left click. Now specify the point where you want to place this object. So let's say that you want to place them over here, left click. The second command we will talk about it is rotate. Go to Home tab, Modify List. This is the icon for rotate command. To select, left click. Now select the object that you want to rotate. So let's say that you want to rotate this object. To select, left click. Now to confirm selection, enter or space, or else you can do right click. Now specify your base point. So let's say that this is our base point, left click. Now specify rotation angle, or else you can move the cursor and the object will rotate with you. So let's say that you want to rotate it at this angle, left click. The shortcut for the command rotate is RO. Type RO, enter or space. Select the object that you want to rotate, left click. To confirm selection, right click. Now specify your base point. So let's say that this is our base point, left click. Let's say that you want to rotate this object at the same time you want to keep the original one as it is. So go to command line, select copy, or else type C because it's highlighted by blue color. Type C, enter or space. So now as we can see, the original one is fixed and we are rotating the copy. So let's say that you want to rotate it at this angle, left click. The last thing we will talk about it for the command rotate is that if you want to rotate the object at a specific angle from the horizontal axis. So type arrow, enter or space. Select the object that you want to rotate, left click. To confirm selection, right click. Now specify your base point. So let's say that this is our base point, left click. So now let's give it a specific angle. So let's say 45 degree, enter or space. Third command we will talk about it is copy. Go to Home tab, Modify List. This is the icon for copy command. To select, left click. Now select the object that you want to make a copy for it. So let's say that you want to make a copy for this object, left click. Now to confirm selection, right click. Specify your base point. Let's say that this is our base point, left click. Now specify your second point. So let's say that you want to place a copy over here, left click. The shortcut for the command copy is CO. Type CO, enter or space. Select the object. To select, left click. To confirm selection, right click. Now specify your base point, but before that, let's say that you want to make a multiple copies for this object. Go to command line and select multiple, or else you can type M because it's highlighted by blue color. Type M, enter or space. Now specify your base point. So let's say that this is our base point, left click. Now you can place your copy wherever you want. So let's say that you want a copy over here, left click. Another copy here, left click. And your third copy is over here, left click. So you can do multiple copies. To end command, press escape. The fourth command we will talk about it is mirror. Go to home tab, modify list. This is the icon for mirror command. To select, left click. Now select the object. To select the object, left click. To confirm selection, right click. Now we need to select 2 points that define a line about which the object will be mirrored. So let's say that this is our first point, left click, and let's say that this is our second point, left click. Now it's asking you if you want to erase the source object or no. Let's say no, enter. So we got a mirror for this object. The shortcut for the command mirror is mi, type mi, enter or space. Now select the object that you want to make a mirror for it. So let's say that this is our object. To select, left click. To confirm selection, right click. The same thing, now we need to specify 2 points to define a line about which the object will be mirrored. So let's say that this is our first point, left click, and this is our second point, left click. Now let's say that you don't want the source object, select yes. The source object will be deleted. The fifth command we will talk about it is stretch. Go to home tab, modify list. This is the icon for stretch command. To select, left click. Now select the object. To select the object, left click. To confirm selection, right click. Now specify your base point, left click. As we can see that there is nothing happened to the object, and this is because when we have selected this object, we did not use crossing window selection. So to understand, let's end this command. Press escape to end command. The shortcut for the command stretch is S, type S, enter or space. Now select the object. Do not select the object by the normal way, just coming here and left click. You should go a little bit away from the object and then left click and then move the cursor towards the object. As you can see that there is a green box, and this green box is called as crossing window selection. Make sure that this crossing window must include at least one vertex or endpoint. So we got one endpoint, then left click. Now to confirm selection, right click. Now specify your base point, left click. As we can see, the 2 members which we have covered by the green box are stretching now. We can stretch them. Now specify your next point and then left click. The sixth command we will talk about it is scale. Go to home tab, modify list. This is the icon for scale command. To select, left click. We can use a scale command to enlarge or reduce the size of object. So let's say that we want to enlarge this object. To select, left click. To confirm selection, right click. Now specify your base point. So let's say that this is our base point, left click. If we want to enlarge the object, then we should move away from the base point. If we move the cursor away from the base point, the object will become larger. And if we want to reduce the size of the object, we should move towards the base point. So if we move the cursor towards base point, the object will become smaller. So now let's say that we want to enlarge it. So move away from the base point, left click. As we can see, our object becomes larger. The shortcut for the command scale is SC, type S, C, enter or space. Now select the object, left click. To confirm selection, right click. Now specify your base point. Let's say that this is our base point, left click. Now let's say that you want to enlarge this object, and at the same time you want to keep the original one as it is. So go to command line, select copy or else type C, because it's highlighted by blue color, type C, enter or space. As we can see now, the original object will remain the same and the copy will be enlarged or minimized or reduced. So if you want to enlarge it, move away from the base point, and if you want to reduce it, move towards base point. So let's say that we want to reduce it, so move towards base point and then left click. So this is the original one and this is the one which we just reduce it. Again type SC, enter or space, select the object that you want, left click. To confirm selection, right click. Now specify your base point, left click. Let's say that you want to enlarge this object double the original one. So type 2, enter or space. So now it becomes double in size. To understand, type SC, enter or space, select the object. To confirm selection, right click, specify your base point, left click. So go to command line and select copy, left click, and type 2, enter or space. As we can see that we got a rectangle which is double in size than the original one. The 7th command we will talk about it is erase. Go to home tab, modify list. This is the icon for erase command. To select, left click. So now let's say that you want to remove this object. To select, left click. To confirm selection, right click. The shortcut for the command erase is E, type E, enter or space. The same thing, select the object, left click. To confirm selection, right click. But usually we do not use this command. Most of the time we just use delete button on the keyboard. So let's say that you don't want this object, you want to remove this object. So select this object and press delete button on the keyboard. The 8th command we will talk about it is exclude. Go to home tab, modify list. This is the icon for exclude command. To select, left click. The exclude command allows you breaking an object into its component. So let's say that we want to break this object. To select, left click. To confirm selection, right click. So we break the compound object into its component object. The shortcut for the command exclude is EXPL. But before that, press escape. Move the cursor towards this object. As we can see that if we select this object, it will be selected as a one object. It's like a compound object. Left click. Press escape. Now type EXPL, enter or space, select the object by left click. To confirm selection, right click. Now if you select this object, it won't be selected as a compound object, it will be selected as individual members. The 9th command we will talk about it is offset. Go to home tab, modify list. This is the icon for offset command. To select, left click. Now specify offset distance. What does it mean by offset distance? Offset distance, it is like a gap between two objects. So let's say that you want a gap of 5, type 5, enter or space. Now select object to offset. So let's select this line, left click. Now specify point on side to offset. So if you want to offset to this side, then move the cursor on this side. And as you can see that the distance is 5. And if you want to offset on this side, then move the cursor towards this side and then left click. The command offset is still on. To end command, press escape. The shortcut for the command offset is O, type O, enter or space. Go to command line. As we can see that there is through. So what does it mean by through? Through, if you are not sure about the distance that you want to give, then you can use through. You can select it from command line, or else you can type T because it's highlighted by blue color. Type T, enter or space. Now select the object to offset. So let's select this one, left click. As we can see now, you can move without any restrictions. Now specify your second point and then left click. As we can see that offset command is still on. You can also select the same object, left click. You can also give a distance. So let's say that you want a distance of 10, type 10, enter or space. To end command, press escape. The last thing we will talk about it for the command offset is that if you want to offset the object, at the same time you want to erase the original object or the original source, then type O, enter or space. Go to command line, select erase, or else you can type E because it's highlighted by blue color. Type E, enter or space. It's asking you, Erase source object after offsetting. Select yes, or else you can type Y because it's highlighted by blue color. Type Y, enter. We will use also true. Again enter. Now select object to offset, so let's select this one. Left click. Let's give it a distance up to this. Now let's specify through point, so let's say this is our point. Left click. As we can see, the source object is deleted. To end comment, press escape. Then we will talk about fillet, chamfer, and blend curves comments. Go to Home tab, modify list, click on this small arrow, left click. So we have here our fillet comment, chamfer comment, and blend curves comment. First we will start with the comment fillet. To select, left click. But before that we need to draw some lines, so press escape to end comment. Select line, draw your first line, and this is your second line. Press escape to end comment. Select polyline, draw your first line, and this is your second line. Press escape to end comment. So we have this as a compound object, and we have this as an uncompound object. Now go to Home tab, modify list, click on this small arrow, left click, select fillet. Now select your first object, so let's say that this is your first object, left click, select your second object, left click. As we can see that there is nothing happened to this angle, and this is because of the radius. So the shortcut for the comment fillet is F, type F, enter or space, go to command line and select radius, or else you can type R because it's highlighted by blue color, type R, enter or space. As we can see that specify fillet radius is 0, type 1, enter or space. Now select your first object, left click, select your second object, left click. As we can see that we got a curved angle. Now type F, enter or space, go to command line, select radius, make the radius again 0, type 0, enter or space. Now specify your first object, so let's say that this is your first object, left click, specify your second object, left click. So now we got our normal angle, which is 90 degree, and this one which is curved. Now let's go to polyline, which is a compound object, type F, enter or space, go to radius, make the radius 1, type 1, enter or space, select your first object, select your second object. So now we got a curved angle. Again type F, enter or space, go to command line, select radius, give the radius 0, type 0, enter or space. Now select your first object and select your second object. As we can see that the curved angle is deleted, and here the curved angle, nothing happened to it, and this is because these two lines were uncompound lines and this line was compound line. Now we will talk about chamfer comment, but before selecting chamfer, let's draw two lines. Select lines. This is our first line and this is our second line. Press escape to end comment. Now go to Home tab, modify list, click on this small arrow. This is chamfer comment. To select, left click. Now select your first line, left click, select your second line, left click. As we can see that there is nothing happened to this angle, and this is because of distance. The shortcut for chamfer command is CHA, type CHA, enter or space. Now go to command line, select distance, or else type D because it's highlighted by blue color, type D, enter or space. Now specify first chamfer distance, so let's assume it's 1, type 1, enter. Now specify second chamfer distance, so let's assume it's also 1, type 1, enter or space. Now select first line, left click, select second line, left click. As we can see that the angle shape changed. To understand what does it mean by first distance and second distance, let's draw one line over here. Now we need to extend these two lines, so select extend command, select this object and then extend these two lines. Now go to measuring tools and select a line. make sure that your snap cursor is on. Left click and left click. So we got 1, and this is our first distance. Again, this one up to here, and this is our second distance. Now we will talk about blend curve. Go to Home tab, Modify List, click on this small arrow, left click. This is our blend curves command. To select, left click. We use blend curves to create a tangent or a smooth spline line between two endpoints of two objects. So let's select our first object. So let's say that this is our first object. To select, left click. Now let's select our second object. So let's say that this is our second object. If we hover the cursor near to this point, we can see that the spline line will join these 2 points. If we hover the cursor towards this point, then as we can see that the spline line will be created between these two points. So to select, left click. So this is our blend curves. There is no short for blend curves, but if you want, you can type BLEND, enter or space. Now select your first object. So let's say that this is our first object, left click. Now select your second object. You can select any object. So let's say that you want to connect these 2 points, this point with this point. So you can hover the mouse over here and then left click. If you want to connect this point, then you can hover it over here and then left click. So hover the cursor towards the point that you want to connect. So let's say that you want to connect it with this point. Then hover the cursor towards this point and then left click. So we got our spline line. 11th, we will talk about trim and extend commands. Go to Home tab, Modify List, click on this small arrow. So this is our trim command and this is our extend command. First we'll start with trim. To select, left click. But before that, we need to draw some lines to make it easy to understand. So to end command, press escape. Go to line. Now draw some lines. Now go to Home tab, Modify List, click on this small arrow. First we will start with trim. To select, left click. Now select your object. So let's select this object. To select, left click. To confirm selection, right click. So this object will act as a knife for us. Now select the object that you want to trim. So let's say that you want to trim this part. So hover the cursor over this part and then left click. So this part will be deleted. The same thing, let's say that you don't want this part. Hover the cursor and then delete it. The trim command is still on. To end command, press escape. The shortcut for the command trim is TR. Type TR, enter or space. Now select the object which will act as a knife for you. So let's say this is our first knife, left click, and this is our second knife, left click, and this is our third knife, left click. You can select multiple objects. To confirm selection, right click. Now select the object that you want to trim. So let's say that you want to trim this part, left click. And if you want to trim this part, left click. This one you can't trim this part because it is between two knives or between two objects that you have selected. So that is mean we cannot trim this part. The same thing with this one, we cannot trim it. Trim command is still on. To end command, press escape. Now we will talk about extend command. Go to Home tab, Modify List, click on this small arrow, left click. This is our extend command. To select, left click. We use extend command to extend objects to the edge of other objects. So let's say that you want to extend this object to the edge of this object. So select this object first, left click. To confirm selection, right click, and now hover the cursor towards the other object that you want to extend. So let's say that you want to extend this object, left click. To end command, press escape. The shortcut for command extend is EX. Type EX, enter or space. Now let's say that you want to extend this line towards this line and you want to extend this line towards this line. So first select this line. To select, left click, select this line, To select, left click. Now to confirm selection, right click. Now select the object that you want to extend. So let's say you want to extend this one. Hover the cursor towards this object. To select, left click. Now hover it towards this object. To select, left click. Extend command is still on. To end command, press escape. The last thing we will talk about it for command trim and extend is that if you want to use both of them at the same time and also freely, that means there is no restrictions. Again, type EX, enter or space. Now select this object, left click. To confirm selection, right click. Now let's say that you have selected this one. Now let's say that you want to extend this line. You won't be able to extend this line or this line. Now you can extend this line. To extend, left click, and this line also you can extend it, left click. You can also extend this one, left click. Let's say that you don't want to select an object or a reference object that all the lines will go to towards this line only. You want to extend freely, so press escape. Now the last thing we will talk about it for the commands trim and extend is that if you want to trim and extend the object freely, that is mean like you don't want to select knives for your trim command, or you don't want to select a reference line for your extend command, then type EX, enter or space. Just do right click immediately. Do not select any object. Now you can extend any object you want. So let's say that you want to extend this object, so it will be extended, left click. Now let's say that you want to extend this one, left click. And let's say you want to extend this one, left click, this one, left click, left click. Now let's say that you want to trim this line. So to shift from extend command to trim command, then press on shift button on keyboard and then hover the cursor towards that object that you want to trim. As you can see that, now you can trim it, left click. If you want to extend, then release shift button and then hover the cursor towards this object, it will be extended. To trim, press shift button on keyboard and then hover the cursor towards the line or the object that you want to trim, then you can trim it. To end command, press escape. Same thing, type TR, enter or space. Do not select any objects to act as a knife for you. Just do right click and now you can trim any object that you want. So let's say that you don't want this line, then left click. You don't want this one, left click. You don't want this one, left click. Let's say that you want to shift from trim to extend command, then press shift button on the keyboard and then you can use it as extend, left click, and so on, left click. To end command, press escape. Now we will talk about last three commands in modify list: rectangular array, path array, polar array. Go to home tab, modify list, click on this small arrow. So we have here rectangular array, path array, and polar array. First we will start with rectangular array. To select, left click. Now select your object. So let's select this line. To select, left click. To confirm selection, right click. So as we can see, there are multiple lines created, and here we got our array creation window. So first we have column, row, and labels. What does it mean by columns? Columns means number of lines in X direction. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So if we click here, left click, and if we make it 9, then enter. So we got 9 columns, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The same thing, if we make it 5, then enter, we will get 5. Between means the distance between each columns. Now it is 1.5, so let's make it bigger. Left click, now make it 5. enter. So it becomes bigger. Rows, it's the number of rows. In this we have 3, 1, 2, 3. So let's make it 5, and then we can get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is the same thing. This is the distance between the rows. So let's say that you want to make it lesser, so make it 50, 50, enter. So as we can see, it becomes lesser. And here we have levels. Levels, it's related to 3D. And here we have levels. It's related to 3D works. We will not talk about it now. We will talk about it later on. So to close the window, just come here and click on Close Array. Now we will talk about Path Array. Go to Home tab, Modify List, click on this small arrow, left click, and this is our path array. To select, left click. Path array, we can use it for curves, circles, spiral lines. So this is how we will select this circle, but before that we need to draw a line over here. So to end command, press escape. Now go to command line, left click, so draw one line over here. To end command, press escape, and now go to Home tab, Modify List, click on this small arrow and select Path Array, left click. Now select the object, so this line will be our object. To select, left click. Now to confirm selection, right click. Now select path curve. So let's say that this is our path curve. To select, left click. The same thing, array creation window will appear. Here we have items, rows, levels. Levels is related to 3D view, and rows, it's related to the number of rows. So let's say that you want 5, type 5, enter. So we got 5 rows, and this will be the distance between the rows. So let's say that you want a distance of let's say 30, enter. As we can see that the distance becomes more. To end command, click on this Close Array. The last thing we will talk about it is polar array. Go to Home tab, Modify List, click on this small arrow, and this is our polar array. To select, left click. But before that we need to draw a line, so press escape to end command. Go to line command, to select, left click, and then draw a line. To end command, press escape. Go to Home tab, Modify List, click on this small arrow. To select, left click. This is our polar array. Now select the object, so let's say this is our object. To select, left click. To confirm selection, right click. Now specify center point of array, so let's say that this is our center point, left click. The same thing, our array creation window will appear. Here we have number of items, so if we change these items into 10, type 10, enter or space. As we can see, we got 10 lines, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And here we have number of rows, so let's say you want 4, type 4, enter. So we got 4 rows. And levels, it's related to 3D. We will talk about it later on. So to close or to end command, come over here and click on Close Array, left click. So guys, we have completed part 1 of this tutorial. I sincerely hope that you enjoyed this tutorial, because it literally took me days to compile my knowledge into these 2 videos. So if you did enjoy it, please like the video or leave a comment below. In the next lecture, we will start part 2. See you next lecture, inshallah.